Had a chance to look over the minutes that were sent out, and if so, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Healy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Got our investment reports next. Mr. Beatty, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Our LGIP rate is 1.09 or 109 basis points, which puts our effective rate at 135 basis points, which was a 6 basis point jump, which we kind of expected to go up. So that helps me to explain why we did have a bid this month, and our best bid for a year on the CD was 136 basis points, which we declined because at this point we're getting 135 with no lock-in, and that's going up every month. And when we made that decision, it may have backed off a little bit. It was the prognosticators said there's a 90+% chance that the Fed raises rates in December, which, because the LGIP is so short in its duration, those short-term adjustments by the Fed really affect our rate. So it just seemed imprudent to lock in money when I just feel like our returns are going to be better with some other investments, and hopefully maybe after a raise or not, whatever, then those CD rates may come in. I personally went to the bank because I really like to take those bids when banks participate. So I personally went to the bank and explained why, and she looked and said, well, here's what the economic report says about the Feds. She said, I hate it, but I understand, and that probably makes sense. So I went to why we didn't, it just, like I say, to get one more basis point and to lock that in when our song seems to have a bullet, we seem to be climbing the charts, didn't make sense. So we just kept that money liquid.
Any further questions of Mr. Beatty?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Pease. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. P, I will give you kudos. I've been paying some property taxes lately on your website, and it is the neatest little thing ever was. You can just, for $1.50, you can use an e-check. You don't have to mail anything. You don't have to go in the office. You don't have to do anything from the comfort of your own computer or laptop or whatever. And I hope people realize the city of Murfreesboro taxes are due by the end of this month.
January 2nd, this
January
time,
2nd.
because it falls on the weekend, that's right.
But I would urge people, it saves your staff having to, foot traffic, but I've never paid online before, but it's $1.50 for an e-check.
For an e-check,
that
and you can
be
pay
for
multiple
properties.
Right.
And if you have to buy 3 stamps, you spent your $1.50, and besides gas and time. But I'm very impressed, and I'll give you kudos for your system. It works great.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's rctrustee.com. And you can check to see if your taxes have been paid. You can print a receipt when people go to do their federal income tax. They also, what did I pay in property taxes? You're welcome to call us, but you can go to rctrustee.com. You can print out the receipt. You can print the bill. If your mortgage company pays, you can see if they paid it. All that's right there. And $1.50 for an e-check, and you can pay it. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank y'all. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Mr. Schaefer, do you have?
Yeah, well, just to let everybody know that $1.50 through Second Harvest could buy 6 meals for Christmas.
We'll urge everybody to spend another $1.50.
I mean, I see that every time I open my computer, it seems like I see that one on there. or
Okay.
something.
Thank you, Mr. Baden. Ms. Nolan, fund condition report.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the development tax. In November, we received $431,250. That brings our year-to-date total to $2,069,250. While that is about 80% of what we had last year at this time, we only budgeted $3 million in development tax. So we are way on our way to hit our marks. Okay, I'll go into our cash. You can see that in November, a lot of those negatives down in the capital projects part has gone away because we did receive the money from the bond issue in November before we closed. So at the end of November, our cash was $283,256,000, with $170,811,000 being operating funds, $112,465,000 being borrowed funds. So the only negative on here is the energy efficient project, and that runs negative until they get the monies back from the state when they send their claims. As far as revenue is concerned, just looking at the general fund, license and fees are doing well. Most of that is related to our building permits. As Mr. Beatty noted about the increase in interest rates received, any of these that you see, other local revenues, that's where the interest earnings are showing, and that is kind of skewing those numbers that they're coming in higher. However, in the general fund, we did receive $120,000 off of a settlement on the subdivision properties, so we haven't budgeted that money in, so that just looks a little skewy there. Number 3 on here, we are woefully behind on claims from the state on our boarding of prisoners, but they are working to get it. They're very behind. Okay, just a little note, hotel motel tax is 10% above where we were last year at this time. Our sales tax countywide is 3.93% more than it was last year at this time. Other than the interest in the different funds, other funds in Fund 116, that's the line that I'm showing with a note, and that's total charges for current services. The monies that we receive from tipping fees is the one that's really driving that. A lot of that coming in. Spoke with the solid waste director, who told me to don't get my hopes up. That's not going to be all year, because toward the end of the year it will not be there. So I guess I get why the getting's good. Under the debt service fund, the largest number, that's 305% increase over the budget. There are some bond proceeds that later on we will budget that in. And that's my report.
Any questions of Ms. Nolan?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Pegg.
Second.
Mr. Allen, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. For the Risk Management Finance Report, Ms. Street, welcome. And before you start, I wanted to mention, we've got some members of Leadership Rutherford with us here tonight. I just want to say welcome. We're glad to see you guys here.
Thank you.
Always appreciate people being involved in that program. I know I went through it 23 or 4 years ago, and probably some more of these members of this committee have, and appreciate your interest in the community and your participation. So
Thank you,
just welcome.
sir. Thank you.
Melissa, how are you tonight?
I'm well, thank you. Okay, we'll begin with Fund 264, looking at the revenue versus expenses ending in the month of November. Our revenue's at $6,082,000, expenses came in at $4,275,000. The difference by month is $1.8 million, and the calendar fiscal year difference is $1.9 million. Page 2 of the report shows revenue versus expenses on a calendar period year-to-date.
Excuse me.
Comparing prior year of revenue at $56.2 million to current year of revenue of $60.3 million. Expenses in prior period year-to-date was $61.6 million, with current at $58.4. On a fiscal period review year-to-date, revenue in prior period was $20.4 million, compared to current at $21.4 million. And expenses in prior period was $28.7 compared to current period of $25.2 million. The third page of the report will show you the 2017 calendar year revenue versus expense comparison, and you'll see that we are currently turning ahead at $1.9 million in revenue over expenses. When you look at the 2017-18 fiscal year comparison, you'll see that in a revenue versus expenditures review, we are trending down at 3.8 million. Fund 266 for the month of November ended at $456,803. Year-to-date, with a year-to-date of prior period being $274,982. Legal fees at the month of November ended prior period of $24,979. Current November period being $24,680.
Any questions of Ms. Street?
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Y'all
Thank you,
have a good
Melissa.
night.
You have a good evening.
Save the questions for January.
More like March.
Got a general fund budget amendment for the extension service. Mr. Tuggle, welcome.
Everyone. We're looking to purchase some table chairs and a trailer the trailer gonna store the tables and chairs we can use for the community center. Currently, we only rent one side at a time. We have large groups. We're looking to get some more, so decrease our committee fund or rent line by $10,000 and increase our line for $499.
I hope you're gonna park the trailer somewhere secure so somebody doesn't steal your trailer, tables, and chairs all at one time.
We gonna lock it up real good. Get locks as well.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner P.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Any questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got a application for Tennessee Department of Agriculture grant for agriculture extension.
This is a $1,000 grant we didn't normally get from Tennessee Department of Ag to market, farmers market type stuff. In the past, we've been sending it to the University of Tennessee, but I guess all 95 counties have been, but they also get funds from Tennessee Department of Ag. So the auditors said they double dipping, so we had to find another public entity to get those funds and use it for that, to disperse those funds. So I was asking the county, how this $1,000 grant for marketing for our farmers market. And some other things.
There's no match.
No match.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve request.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Commissioner P. Any questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Anthony.
No problem, thank you.
You have a good evening. We've got a request for additional funding for Oakland Middle School Annex and related general purpose school fund budget amendment. Has there been an accident or something? I don't believe we've ever had a meeting when Mr. Sandick wasn't here.
He was making a presentation tonight at the school board meeting.
Right. I do. In my 15
Try to
years here, I don't
wave
believe
my-
I've been to a budget meeting he wasn't at, so.
I'll try to wave my arms around a little bit.
That's a
You
high
said that,
level.
not me.
That's a high level of trust right there, sitting him alone.
Well, welcome, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Number one is 2017-18 budget amendment for Oakland Middle School Annex. R.G. Anderson Company is a low bidder for the Oakland Middle School Annex project at $13,241,000. Another $2,961,000 is needed in order to fund the construction contract and related site permit costs. School board would like to transfer $2,961,000 from the central or the general purpose school unassigned fund balance so that $987,000 of this $2,961,000 would cover the 6th grade portion of this project, and the remaining $1,974,000. The shared fund can be used to internally fund the 7th and 8th grade portion of the Oakland Middle School Annex project until Rutherford County goes to the bond market for secondary education funds. At this time, this $1,974,000 would become available for K through 6th grade projects. The general purpose school unassigned fund balance will be $25,787,139 after this transfer, or 7.07% of the 2017-18 general purpose school budget. School board requests that the county commission increase the construction budget for the Oakland Middle School Annex project by this $2,961,000 and use this $2,961,000 transfer to internally fund the shortfall for the Oakland Middle School Annex project. Recommended motion to transfer $2,961,000 from the general purpose school unassigned fund balance to the school building program, Fund 177, in order to internally fund the Oakland Middle School Annex project, and to ask that the construction budget for Oakland Middle School Annex project by this amount as presented.
And you shared with Help and Ed kind of the reason behind this. Will you share with this group just how we came up with this shortfall?
You know, over the past year, we've increased this budget on our spreadsheet 4 different times to try to keep up with things, and it seemed like we were doing Oakland in the city. It's the city's project, so we get kind of pushed back a couple to 2 months to 4 months on a city project because of all the requirements, all the paperwork that they require to get in, and all the approvals. So by the time we got this thing bid, cost had escalated. And I guess over the last 12 years, we've been pretty successful in tracking and keeping up with costs, but over the last year or so, we've just had a real struggle with trying to keep the money right on the spreadsheet. And so we got caught.
If there are no more questions, I'll make a motion that we approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Peete, any further questions or discussion?
We're going to see this and what comes in the future too, I recommend. In the short term for at least, right? Was there
Yes.
anything else we got out there that hadn't been locked in?
This will complete it. We had the same problem on Siegel High School addition. So that will end this group of projects for this borrowing period. So we're hoping that we can kind of keep the sheet up to date from here on out and catch up, or things will stabilize some so that it won't be increasing quite as fast.
Is there any way to do any kind of a process improvement when we have projects like this with the city so that you don't have these delays? Because I know the delays also then impact our opening date.
Well, we, on Oakland, for instance, that school, the students already there, so we don't have to do a bunch of rezoning and stuff at this point, and we can just move them right from one classroom on site into the building. So really a couple of months opening later doesn't really affect us as it would if we were building a new school where we had to rezone everyone and then put them on hold for 2 months to move them in.
Yeah, I guess just my thinking is we're getting the building, I want those kids to be in it and be able to utilize it as much as possible. Because like, I think about Smyrna Middle, that, being able to use that new space keeps getting pushed back where those 8th graders could have used it for half a year, and now
Right.
they're not going to get to use it really at all. So it's that kind of thing. I'm like, those kids suffered through portables and tight cramped, conditions. I want them to be able to use that new space. So that's all I was thinking was, if we're on track, what can we do to keep them on track?
Well, in Smyrna Middle School, we had some particular issues up there that we had to overcome, like
Right.
2 months of rain, and we're on a dirt pad, so.
So that's not a process improvement
Right.
issue. Permits is a process
Right,
improvement
it
issue.
is.
So,
And we've gotten a lot better cooperation out of the current administration down here and management. So they're working a lot better with us, but it's just a different world from working with Smyrna or Laverne or the county.
Once the cities get larger, it gets more complicated. I can
Yeah.
just imagine if you're building in a Nashville or Knoxville or
Oh, yeah.
Chattanooga or something, but, it's ultimately gonna fall back on the commission to maybe appropriate the funds or lock the project down earlier if you decide you need an extra 60 days for the permitting process than what you've historically needed.
Right.
And we've had complaints from this committee and others before that, well, we're under a deadline to approve this school, but that's going to become more and more real as time goes forward, or we're going to start looking farther out, because it's not like it was 20 years ago. You walk down City Hall and you get a permit, you talk to your friend Bob or whoever, and they hand you a permit, you go start building it, so
Right.
it's a lot more process. We probably need to look at putting a little more
Start
time in
earlier.
our timeline to meet all those deadlines.
On the front end, yes, move it backward.
The people got to justify their existence too, so don't put it all on them. We just got to start earlier on it.
Well, I mean, but I hear it from builders, I know builders across the state in different walks of life, and they all talk about it getting more complicated. I had a guy from Cannon County tell me that it's getting more complicated to build a house there than it was 5 years ago, because there are just stormwater things and this and that, and it's just more rules and regulations as time moves on.
That's right. And of course, I've worked in a lot of different cities around the U.S., and this is minor compared to some of the things you get into when you get up north and in New York and those areas. It's really, really tough.
And not all of our schools and annexes are in the city, and so this is just probably going to be a small number. I know Siegel would have been too, but maybe a lot of these
Siegel,
projects
and
may not have.
we're just getting those started, and we're working on getting foundation permits. If we can get the foundation permit pretty quickly, and then the rest of the permitting process come. And a lot of the things, for instance, we're waiting on some stuff on Rockville High School for the sewer, for a pre-con. We've had our paperwork in for 3 weeks now. We haven't been able to have a pre-con, so we're starting. We're starting a sewer Monday morning. We can't let our guys get off site, and then they'll just have to catch up with us.
We've got a motion and a second to approve this request. If there's no further questions, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Got a general purpose school fund budget amendment.
This is all just money that we have, and it's being moved around to different areas. Primary purpose of this amendment is to reclassify $1,331,090 in items that arose after initial 2018 budget was presented during the audit or as school prepared to open. 71,100 regular instruction, $91,778. Rutherford County has been approved for 2 new cost-shared JROTC positions based on our enrollment at Blackman High and Oakland High. We will receive some additional funding for the ROTC program as a result. This amendment was already budgeted teacher pay for these teaching positions. $89,000 is being moved from regular education textbooks to vocational textbooks. And then $71,300 CTE, $24,320. The child care aid is being reclassified as an educational aid at Holloway High School. 72,710 transportation. 51,286, the cabling technician who works on school bus technology is being reclassified to the transportation department. 72,130, other student services. 40,000 for student handbooks is being moved from the director of schools budget and other student support. 82,130 and 82,230 debt service. $1,007,202 in principal payments for the EESI loans is being reclassified to other loans, and $27,504 in interest payments for the EESI loans is being reclassified to other loans. There are no new expenditure in these amendments. Recommended motion to amend a total of $1,331,090 and already budgeted 2017-18 expenditures to new budget line items as presented.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Any questions on any of this? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P? Yes. Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
You have a good evening.
Okay.
Got a drug fund budget amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Tell Jeff we moved $8 million out of the school budget.
Until we got you down to 5% or 3%.
Oh, easy, easy.
Welcome, Preble. How are you?
Good.
And your assistant.
He's right on target.
I'm not doing real well, so.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Real easy. We finally we're signing the dotted line on the building. Gonna go ahead and appropriate $150,000 out our restricted for public safety and put it in our capital outlay to, mainly it's a lot of technology stuff, but there's some outfitting and things like that.
Move to approve the request as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Any questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you.
That's all from We've got an EMP grant contract with FEMA for emergency management. Mr. Cass, welcome. How are you tonight?
This is a good one. This is an annual FEMA grant program, the Emergency Management Performance Grant, and it's funneled through the states, and the states, of course, offer it to counties that want to participate. It's a 50% match, which we have no trouble meeting because it's $69,350 each year. And the way we meet our matches, of course, things like my salaries and things, so we more than easily meet that. It's basically, it's just basic blocking and tackling for emergency management, make sure we're properly trained and conducting certain training. Very easy to meet the requirements. So just asking that we accept the grant for 2017.
And we give whoever the appropriate person is, it's already been signed or whatever.
Or it hadn't been signed.
No, it's not been
That's what I'm asking.
Well,
It will have to be
asking for-
executed.
And whatever motion would include the mayor or whoever the appropriate person signing.
Mayor will be signing.
Well, I make the motion to accept the money owes. Let's do it that way.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Cass. We've got a general fund budget transfer for circuit court clerk. Ms. Harold, how are you tonight?
I'm fine. How are you all?
Fine, thank you.
I just need to do an amendment for our other charges. I'd like to replace that $5,100 into our maintenance agreement. Fund. Our fund.
Any questions?
Is this the maintenance agreement on your Tensis?
Jury Systems.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Did I hear a second? Mr. P, sorry. Any further questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you very much. You have a good evening.
Merry Christmas to
Same to you.
We're going, Lisa and I will have to take this one.
Yeah, got that. General Fund Amendment for Planning Department.
These are the dues for the MPO, and there's been some consolidation between the MPO and the GNRC, and the headquarters for the occupancy of the staff has moved from Metro to their own locations, et cetera. In any event, Metro was covering more than its proportionate share of overhead for all those operations. So this is putting all the costs back on really all the users, basically, all of us that are members of these organizations. So that we need another $14,000.
How many counties does that include?
It's 7, plus we've added 2 or 3 more on. It's maybe up 10.
Is this calculated on a per county basis
It's
or
on
a
a
per population
It's
basis?
on a population basis.
So Camden County or a smaller county is not
Cannon's not
paying,
in it, but
but
no,
a
the
smaller
smaller
county is
ones would
not
not
paying as
get
much
as
as we're paying.
No, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve. I think they're worth every penny.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. We've got ambulance service fund budget amendment.
I'll take this one. We're bringing this one forward because the first payment is due at the end of December. This will provide for 3 payments for the ground ambulance Medicaid assessment charge that is now being assessed. These funds will partially offset by an increase to the Medicaid reimbursement revenue. So we have to pay in $9.09 per run.
All Medicare or Medicaid funds.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And we're only going to get paid additional money for the Medicaid runs.
Right.
We don't see any way that we're going to actually come out even on this, but
Supposedly.
we knew nothing about this. It's an unfunded state mandate, so just write it down.
Did this come through public safety?
No,
No.
we
No, we
didn't know about
just
it.
got the bill.
Didn't even know about it till 2 or 3 days ago.
So we get, now where do we send the money to?
The state of Tennessee.
For the
Not even
privilege of
federal.
running our ambulance.
Yes,
So if they go
And
pick
then-
up somebody who pays their own bills, is not involved in Medicare,
we're only
Medicaid,
being
whatever.
assessed for the Medicare / and the Medicaid runs.
I thought somebody
No.
said all
No, I
of them.
think-
We're being assessed for
all
all
of
of
All
them.
runs, I didn't know it was going to get the private runs.
Then we get paid back for the Medicare runs?
the Medicaid.
Medicaid.
Medicaid, yeah,
The
okay,
rate-
Medicaid.
Increase by
Yeah.
about $10.
So we're gonna lose $9.75 every time we go pick up somebody that doesn't get qualified for Medicaid.
It's what it appears. Now, wait a minute, you said, are you talking about private agencies also?
No.
No.
No, what he's talking about, not.
Yeah, all ambulance, all
Gotta
ground
love
ambulance
government, the way
services.
it works, you know.
Yeah, all ground ambulance services.
Just the way he stated it. Well, it's all those that answer the 911 calls. These convalescent ambulance services are not in on this deal, okay?
Well, they would be assessed the $9, but they don't, according to the ambulance service, they don't have as many of the Medicaid runs because they have to get it approved prior to going to the call. So they said that they normally will call the 911 service in order to come pick them up. So we in turn end up servicing all the Medicaid calls most of the time.
They're handing them off to us.
Right,
Out of the
because they
goodness of their
can't,
heart.
because they can't get them approved prior to going to get the call.
And did they reimburse it back in full, the $9 and whatever the change was?
We're only going to get,
For the Medicaid, right, but did they reimburse that?
they increased the
We
rate.
get about
don't know.
$10 extra now on average, for all the Medicaid calls.
But all
So
of them-
we'll get $10 back on all the Medicaid, but have to pay $9 on all calls.
What
So,
percentage
I don't
of
know.
our calls, I'm getting off Mr.
I-
our Medicaid
We
calls?
got 2,800
I'm not sure.
calls to
The
3,000 calls a
Medicaid is a
month.
small percentage of this,
Yeah.
of our calls.
So we're running 3,000 calls a month. We're gonna send them $30,000 a month and get back 10% of that.
Yeah,
And one of our wonderful legislators thought
We
this
don't-
was a great
Yeah.
bill to pass.
I don't know whose thought this was a good idea. We didn't even know about it.
Yeah, we need to cook this up, because
Yeah.
we need them working on our budget.
When is our could we,
It's
I
to
feel
be
sure we'll,
determined. I know where you're headed.
we'll make a note of when our
Everybody
meeting is
asking.
with the legislator, or legislators.
Was
I don't know if it was that or if it's at a federal level.
I'd
I
like
don't
to
think
know.
this has anything to do with the
I think it's
federal
state.
people. This is all
It's all
Tennessee.
state.
I mean, I have the little,
The only
logic
reason I say
behind
that,
it
when I
for it
started
coming out.
researching it, I'm seeing it in other states.
Well, I don't remember seeing that in the
The logic
legislative
is
agendas we were
to
getting last fall.
provide more ambulance services and more 12 lead monitors or something
they
in
think we can-
ambulances, and I think
it's
we
gonna
already.
give us some additional money
Yeah.
to put stuff in our ambulances we already have. period.
But they're gonna take $30,000 a month off of it.
I don't know
But
if
it's,
they're.
it's $46,000 per
Quarter.
quarter, $46,000.
We said
$46,000 per
if there
quarter.
were approximately 3,000 runs a
Every
month.
month, their reports, every month is 2,800 to 3,000, the
You
runs that we
multiply that
make.
975, you're in a,
Well, you're
you're pushing
$30,000.
$30,000 a month.
But
right
they've
there.
only assessed us $46,574 per
And those are
quarter.
based on the 2016 calls.
I mean, still,
So I don't
we
know
had
if
that
they-
many almost in 2016 that they're talking about. We don't know how this is going to impact us yet until we see, we're supposed to get a
on
check
the
soon
22nd, yeah.
for the first quarter to see how many dollars we get.
So this is brand new, it just started in 16.
Yeah. Just started.
this
They
year.
built this
We got
on
the first bill
November
like 2 days
29th.
ago, 3 days ago.
When
But
was
it
this
rolled
passed?
back in the.
Do we have
Well,
any
they're
idea?
using,
When did it?
they're using
when-
prior
they're-
calls in order to assess it.
Somewhere.
They're assessing
They
on
got
the
a
front.
dollar number.
Up with it. Is
I
this
have a
what
They
little
never pay us on the
document
front end.
that's an update, but.
They pay us,
They're gonna pay
Contract 6
us,
months
yeah,
later.
they're gonna pay
May the
us on the,
16th.
Yeah.
Is this another
First quarter of
bureaucratic thing that we
17.
get out of the
yeah.
state or the feds? Or is this at least a legislative one?
Well, we're almost beating up shooting the messenger at
We
this
don't
point in
know.
time.
We don't
you
have
know.
very much information on it
It was
at all.
new.
Well,
I feel sure
we told
steering-
you everything that's in this 2 or 3 pages.
I would hope that the mayor would, and Mr. Commissioner Pease, our steering member here, would look into this and would try and get some more information on this going forward. I mean, do we have to pay
But
this
then-
at this point in
Then
time?
we'll get the,
What is the hammer if we don't pay this at this point in time?
I don't know.
Can we not defer this for a month?
It goes to the Bureau of TennCare, this is who built this.
Well, I mean, would it be, I'm thinking out loud here, would it be appropriate to defer this for a month until we know more
We
about
can
where
wait and
this
see
money's
how
going?
much they pay us for the first quarter and then see what, then make your decision.
because when is that payment coming in?
The money, the revenue comes in on the 22nd, the payment's due on the 29th.
Is there a penalty clause in their payment?
There's nothing except the bill.
Whatever's in that
There's
piece
no
of paper is
no
all I
language
read.
here.
Did we not just say that the state is way behind on paying this for inmates?
Yeah.
If the state's behind on every bill we get with this due coming our way, why do we have to pay this bill on time when we didn't even know about it 3 days ago?
Well, we've tried that game before with the juvenile detention, and it didn't work out well.
Well, I'm just saying until we get more information.
I understand.
And that's, but I'm just sitting up here, y'all can make whatever motion you want. Is there a motion in any form or fashion?
Do you want to put the money there?
Yeah, I make a
For
motion
the
that we
bill,
send this to
one here?
steering to investigate further and to come up with an answer where
Well,
it came from
you're
and
asking to
why.
approve
Where's
the
it?
whole
Why
thing,
for, what-
3 quarters.
Well, we have a motion to send this to steering, but does that motion include any action on the amendment before us?
I didn't say anything about that.
Okay, so besides any action on the amendment from, we have a motion to send this to steering for clarification. Is there a second on that motion?
Oh, really, y'all to send it, excuse me, let me go
Send
ahead.
it to public safety.
Y'all go to public safety if you really want to drill all this down.
Do it to myself.
And then you send it on to steering board.
Send it through the appropriate committees.
There you go.
Would that be your motion?
Yeah, that would
Send-
be.
Okay, we have a motion to send this through the appropriate committees. Now, we're not even talking about whether we're going to fund this amendment yet. This is totally to decide. And we have a second. You got that?
Who was the second?
I was.
Commissioner Speed?
I was.
We just want to make sure that steering has it when they speak with the legislators. We want to
And
make
that
sure
date
steering
has-
has it by that time.
Right,
Mr.
that date
Allen?
hadn't been set
We
yet.
wouldn't pay any other bill that just showed up uninvestigated, so I think we're entitled to investigate
Well, we
this.
could, this motion here does
Right.
not have anything to do with the bill.
Right.
The bill, we'll address that after this motion. So
Right.
At this point in time, the motion is just to send this to the appropriate committees for further clarification and to dig into what actually happened here. So this just came out
And
of
then
the blue.
are we going to get a report back at budget next month to know the answer to that question?
I think we'll get the.
Well, whatever they found out,
We'll
we'll
get
get
the
it back.
answer back whenever it gets back to us, because we've got meetings scheduled, it depends on when the meetings fall.
We're not gonna get paid until the 22nd, is that what you said?
I think it's the 20, I think it's the
That's the
22nd.
So we see that-
When it comes in, a revenue.
And public safety meets the 18th. So we're not gonna know much on the 18th is what's so bad about this, but we'll do what we can
3rd, 9th, and 10th, I think those were the dates for tentative of January.
for the
that-
steering,
For steering
well,
to me.
for the
And
legislative.
then they're checking with the legislators to see when they're available.
And did I hear you saying that the amount of money that we've got here would have covered the year, so we could?
Three.
The fiscal year, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Government-
yeah,
So
three
we-
quarters.
3 quarters.
It would take us through
But so
This
if
fiscal
we were
year,
worried
yeah.
about a penalty, we could potentially only allocate enough to cover
this bill.
one bill and not the whole year.
Well, that'll be the next motion.
Yeah, right,
We
right.
get
I'm just trying to understand where we're at, yeah.
Okay, well, the motion to send this to the appropriate committees, if there's no more further questions, all those in favor on that one say aye. Opposed? Okay, that one passes. Now, as far as back to the projected amendment, personally, I like what Commissioner Allen just said, we could break this down to a month's worth.
That first quarter.
Or
And then if we
quarter's worth,
find out we-
And that would keep us from being in the red if we want to pay it off.
I would prefer that in case there was a penalty.
Right. That's
I don't
Or an
want to
audit
pay any
finding
more
or
than.
something else.
That
I
way
just
you-
don't want to pay any more than we have to.
Well, but that way you've got the freedom to pay it if you figure out, you don't have to wait on us to meet again to do that.
So I would, 46,600.
I'll make a
Would be the
motion,
amendment.
I'll make a motion that we approve the current bill at its rate.
46,600.
I just rounded. I like nice.
Future payments pending.
Did you just divide by 3, or do we know specifically?
No,
what
that's
the
the
first
bill.
one was?
We have the first quarter's specific bill.
Yeah, they took the cost from 2016 and divided it by 4, that's what they did, and multiplied it times $9.09, so every quarter is going to be the exact same amount.
And we've got a motion basically to break this down and pay the first quarter and then revisit this before the next, I'm putting words in
Yes,
your motion
yes.
here, but to revisit this before we pay the next quarter.
Yes.
Second.
And a second. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Peete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Abstain.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed. Next, we've got the 2018-19,
You've got to say it. You've got to say
You
it.
can't turn around without them sticking it.
no
to
more
us.
coffee for Commissioner Schaefer. We've got the 2018-19 budget calendar, which we were presented with last month. If there are any corrections, changes, or motions to approve?
This is what we were presented to you last month, and I
What
don't
did
think
we
we
decide
received
on?
any
Which,
calls.
was it the Monday or the Tuesday?
Tuesday.
In June for the
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay.
What are the wishes of the committee? We need a motion on this.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee.
Second.
Commissioner Allen? Going once, going twice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 2018-19 calendar is set. Debt service debt service fund budget amendment. Ms.
Okay.
Nolan.
All right. Hold on, I skipped one. Debt service
We skipped
fund-
one?
No, I did.
Oh, never mind.
I did. Okay. This amendment takes care of the monies that come into the debt service fund, bond proceeds, $499,103. That pays the underwriter's discount and then the charges for the cost of issuing debt.
It's just the cost of doing business. So we go to
Cost
the
of
bond
doing
market.
business. Yes, but I also, in this, there is a net increase to assigned fund balance of $575,000 because I reduced, I told y'all that I had estimated $1.5 million interest payment, and so we're saving in the budget. I'm just trying to get the budget ending fund balance to be more like what I think it's going to be. So I've reduced that amount of interest.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Any further questions? Anytime we can save $575,000, go to the plus side, it's a good thing.
We're gonna pay it sooner or later.
Yeah. Just I pay it now.
It looks good right now.
We want to pay for ambulance runs.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Presentation of State Farm CT-0253 for the new bond issue.
Okay, this is information that we have to present to you. It just gives you the summary of this bond issue. We issued $81.53 million. We received a premium on this of almost $5.7 million. Our true interest cost is at 2.6656. 100% for schools. And then on the next page lists all the expenses.
This is for information only, and I guess I'll do this again at full commission
Yes.
for information for the rest of the group. Any questions on that before we move forward? Financial assurance in lieu of bond documents for the landfill. Mr. Nolan.
Good evening, how are y'all?
Fine, how are you about yourself?
I'm doing good, doing good. As you know, we do this every year and the state recalculates it, and if it changes by more than $10,000 a year, then you can do the amendment to change it. This one's $158,000 change, so, and it's actually going down again. This is covering the closed landfill and the operating landfill, which is going to close this spring. So we'll wind up with 2 closed landfills within a few more months. So I'm not sure exactly what it will do with this, but I assume it will make it go higher next year.
Well, that's not, the number will be down to 0 in about 400 more years. So. Any questions on this? We need a motion to approve.
We don't have a whole lot of choice here, so
No.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Pegg.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
We're glad you could drive all the way up here to do it, Mac.
Oh, yes.
Don't leave yet, though. I mean, like,
Yeah, don't leave the building. Is there any other business?
Yeah, are we going to get a hard copy of our calendar?
Certainly can.
yes,
Okay, or at least
yes.
send it to us on something we can print out.
We can put it in your box.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Thank you.
I can email it to you. or-
Does this,
I
is
think
It's on the internet right now.
We had one last month. I just kept mine. Didn't we have one last month?
it legal size?
Yeah, you gave us one
No, it's
last
letter
month.
size.
Letter size, okay, so you can print it out.
Yeah, it's the same
Or
as
if you have one at home, you can.
Received last month. But yeah, I can put it in all the boxes. So the last submission passes.
Anything else to come for us tonight? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.